The Healing Vibrations in Water with Dr. Corrine Allen.
But we're going to talk today about healing vibrations in water. And we really have the healing water on the planet. So what is the healing vibrations in the water? It's really voltage. Voltage is the electricity. Most human cells operate in a pH from 7.35 to 7.4, which can also be indicated as a voltage range of minus 20 millivolts to minus 25. Now, this is very important when you see how diseases all have a voltage. And health and disease is all about voltage. Vibration is measured in volts. So let's look at the definition of vibration. Vibration is the oscillation or the repetition motion of an object around an equilibrium position, and vibration is body motion. You know, we have a lot in our world today about vibes and vibration and energy, and all of this is God-given. It's all in the physics realm, and so it's not so out there. We're going to learn today how to kind of make it more real for us, because when you have the pH and the ORP meter, you can measure voltage. The volts are called the electromotive force, or the potential difference, usually expressed in volts. So how does the body heal itself? Here's a cell. The body doesn't get well making damaged cells work correctly. That is so key. Put that on your brain. You cannot go from a damaged cell to a healthy cell. It gets there by making new cells work correctly. This is so key. If you don't have the materials for a new cell to work correctly, you can't get healthy cells. If the body can't find those good, healthy materials to build one, it'll use whatever is available. It has to have the proper nutrition, but most importantly, if the cell inside the cytoplasm of the cell is 90% water, what is the most important thing? To have the right voltage, you have to have the right alkaline water needed to build that new cell. How do they get that voltage? How do they get that vibration? Well, we know groundwater, if it's not polluted, contains electrons, especially if it comes off the glaciers. When we add fluoride to our water and chlorine and chemicals, they steal electrons. You know that now. They have positive force and they steal it. And when we drink that water, it steals our voltage. When the water shows a negative voltage, or ORP, it's an electron donor. Now, you know these terms. We've taught you these. You understand them, but now you're getting a new perspective on how this works with voltage. Water shows a positive voltage, and the water, then it becomes an electron stealer. Now, the body, we all know we're making new bodies. Thank goodness we don't have a dead end, that we can actually improve things. We can actually become younger. This is how. The process of rebuilding new and healthy cells is based on the fact that the body is continually rebuilding itself. Rods and cones, look at how fast they will replace. 48 hours. The skin takes 6 weeks. The liver takes 8 weeks. Wow. The nervous system takes 8 months, and the bones take a year. So every year we can completely change ourselves. And we are rapidly making new cells. But remember, the key is we've got to have the right materials, the right water, or we can't make new healthy cells. We make cells from damaged. It's going to require, look at this, a minus 50 millivolt to make a new cell. Wow. Voltage means health or disease. If we have fluoride in the water, if we get it in our toothpaste, if we get it at the dentist, we're going to have the voltage being lost. If we have chlorine, that includes chlorine in your showers. You're going to be losing voltage from that. If you have still water, like a bath, how many of you take a bath and you get out and you're like a limp rag? It's because you've lost voltage. EMF. We talked a little bit about this. Your computers, your cell phones, your microwaves are all voltage stealers. So if you eat food that had any voltage in it and you've microwaved it, you just negated that voltage that you could have had to raise your voltage. Cooked food goes to a positive voltage, which means it's going to lower your voltage. Anytime you have a lack of minerals, minerals are more important than vitamins. They are the things that pull the vitamins in. And low voltage supplements, a lot of people don't understand about voltage in supplements, and they'll just go, buy the cheapest one or buy the one that somebody recommends. And a lot of times people send supplements to me to check, and I check their energy frequency. And there are, many times there's lots of research, or it's research that talks about things that the vitamin does. But the bottom line is, what is the voltage of it? What are the megahertz in that vitamin? And I've come to the point where I've pretty much scrapped 90% of the supplements that I recommend. And the ones that I recommend only have high voltage. And because I know that if you get one of something that has high voltage, it's worth 20 and 30 of those that don't. Negative emotions, they will pull your voltage down. You know this if you have a negative mate, if you have a negative child, if you have a negative boss, if you have anybody that's negative, what do you have to do to protect yourself? Your thought process has to stay above that, because that will pull you down. That's your voltage going down. You have to have any acid water sources, any tap water, any bottled water, any distilled water, any of these spring waters, they will pull your voltage down. And it's so subtle that we don't even realize it. So how do we pull the voltage up? We're going to have to eat whole, unprocessed, chemical-free food. And we're going to have raw organic foods. We're going to put our feet in dirt or peat moss. We discovered this cool thing because we get people who have EMF poisoning, electromagnetic poisoning, and they have had, remember I told you they first have a blood-brain barrier opening somewhere in their life from birth till that time. They've had some kind of an incident that has attacked the brain and has caused spinal or brain injury. They then get into, I had this gal who lived with the big power lines right next to her house, and she had had an injury earlier and she was deathly ill. And for years, she could only live on her bed with grounding mats and things on her bed. That's where she lived. But she discovered some ways to get well, came to the brain program, and in 12 days, she was a new person, went back home. And one of the things we discovered was the grounding. We were already doing grounding. We do grounding mats, and I sleep on a grounding mattress. It's a sheet, actually. And we put grounding mats on our under our computers for our office help, because all of that helps you like you're in the dirt, because we're not in the dirt. So we found that peat moss with kelp and frankincense is a way for people who can't get outside or the weather's too inclement to be able to actually add voltage to their system. And it will drain the EMF poisoning molecules, actually, or energy frequency, out of their system. So it's a fabulous way to gain energy. Soaking in the sunshine, oh my goodness, the sunshine is good for you and it adds voltage. And if you stand in water that's running, like a shower or a stream that's running, and iodine is very important for your voltage. If the thyroid is not working right, the system cannot take on voltage properly. And of course, proper mineral supplementation, you get it in the water, but you really should have an extra source of good minerals. High voltage supplements, if you're questioning what those might be for you, we do offer help for people to help them find the right supplements. And hugging someone or something. And you want to find somebody that has higher voltage because if you're always hugging somebody that has lower voltage, they're going to take your voltage. And then, of course, you want the right kind of water. You've got to have ionized, microclustered alkaline water. Now, all the cells work on voltage. There's chemistry and there's electricity in the body. And this is, I always say, electricity moves chemistry, and it does. That's how it works in the body. They have to have enough voltage to work, and chronic disease is a loss of voltage. So if you are sick, anything that you have that you are sick. Your voltage is down. And in order to raise that voltage, you have to do something. And doesn't it make sense that if the most important thing in your cell, 80% of your brain, 75% of your body, and 90% of your cell is water, wouldn't that be the logical place to change first to get your health? And it's related to the pH of what goes into that. When there's low voltage pain, if you have any pain, you have chronic low voltage. If you have fatigue, it's low voltage. It's a lack of oxygen in the cells and inefficient metabolism. You're sluggish, your weight's not coming off. And when your voltage drops, it activates all the bugs, the viruses, the bacteria, the fungi in your body, and they start feeding. Chronic disease is always low voltage. Any kind of pain, again, cells don't have enough voltage to do their job. And even if they don't have enough, if you raise the voltage and they can't maintain that voltage, you have to maintain that voltage. They can't get rid of the waste because they're toxic. They have to have energy to move that waste out. And when it pools in the body and stays stagnant, the voltage drops. Microorganisms grow and they release toxins. And their digestive systems, their digestive enzymes are eating and working in the body, and they will travel through the body. The human body can heal itself. This is a very powerful statement. The key to making chronic disease better is making a single cell work. That's a principle of life. The key to changing your world, your marriage, your children is making you work. You change. Same in the body, down to the very micro level. If you give the body the things that one single cell needs, the body has the power to heal all the cells of the body. And that means you get well. This is Dr. Jerry Tennant. He's a very famous ophthalmologist. He discovered many things for the eye health in lasers and in techniques. And he was working with lasers. And as he was getting close to the eye and putting these on, the viruses would jump from the people into his brain through his eyes. And after a while, he became very ill and could only work a few hours a day, and then he was totally immobilized. He went to his medical profession and had no answers. He was desperate. So he said, nobody's going to heal me but heal myself. That's like me. I was very, very ill. And I said, nobody's going to heal me. I got to find my own answer. Right after I got out of college and I first got married, I was in bed and very ill for many years, and I just read all the time, all the time, all the time. That's what he did. He read biochemistry, and he said, if we can understand how the cell works, I can get well. So he had about 3 hours a day that he could really do anything. And he laid there and he started to understand the electricity in the cell, and he figured out a phenomenal, research him on the internet as phenomenal information. And he wrote a book called Healing is Voltage, very powerful book. And when you understand this, you can see he sort of opened up its information that's there, but it was kind of not put together in the way that he put it together. Electron stealers will drop our voltage. What are they? When cells start dropping below that 20 millivolts, we begin to have health issues. And the electron stealers are the cause of this. In an experiment by a Dr. Keith Brewer, he dropped the voltage of the cells in a petri dish from minus 20 to plus 30. Now that's a big span. And guess what? The cells became malignant. Ding, ding, ding. Anybody ever had cancer? Anybody had skin cancer? Anybody had any kind? That's exactly what happened to you. The voltage was added back up to minus 65 millivolts. And what happened? The cancer cells all died. Caffeine lowers voltage. Yes, I still love you. It acts as a diuretic. It depletes the body of what? Neurochemicals. And it leads to brain fog, insomnia, poor memory, anger, and confusion. Voltage and electrons. What are the stealers? We know the chlorine and the fluoride in the drinking water. And here's something a lot of people don't know. Even in the health food store, we're getting canola oil. And don't trust everything in your health food store. You must understand the body. Of course, they sell acid water. That's number one. I don't think they have any alkaline water that's truly a negative voltage. Canola, trans fats, hydrogenated fats, deep fried foods, these are all electron stealers. There are many electron stealers in our environment that are introduced to our bodies. Microwave cell phones, the computers, stress, trauma. Remember, I defined trauma from what I'm seeing working with people as anything that you interpret as a negative situation. It can be on the low level of trauma, but they build, and the more you build those negative situations, whether it's the way your father spoke to you, the way your boss treated you, the husband or wife you married, and the relationship there, it builds all this this positive voltage in you. Standing in the dirt is how we build it. Swimming in the ocean, running water, unprocessed, raw, chemical-free food. Note that I'm really emphasizing raw. Raw is really important in your diet for voltage. Very, very important. I have a Vitamix, oftentimes for lunch, and I love it because I don't really like to come up and cook, because I like to get things done. I'm very goal-directed, type A, So I'll come up, throw a cucumber, an avocado, celery, anything, spinach, and throw that all together and add a couple lemons. It's delightful. I love it. And I'll drink that, and then I'll make enough for my staff, and they love it because they're on the same frequency as I am. And then the right kinds of fats is very important. I would say the highest is coconut oil. And then these are all unprocessed oils, then olive oil. And then from there, any oil that's unrefined and unprocessed. Trauma clearing. This is why we offer this when we travel, because this will raise your voltage amazingly. When you clear out all that negative stuff in the DNA, and that's what the essential oils can do, you can raise your voltage. And the most important is the alkaline ionized microclustered water. How are you going to build that voltage? Well, the water, the microclustered, the whole natural chemical-free food, the minerals, high voltage supplements, functioning thyroid. We don't think about this. And yet, a very large percentage of people are on thyroid supplement, a Synthroid or some kind of a thyroid supplement. And then clearing those negative emotions. And you can start right today, clearing your negative emotions. Every time that negative thought comes, when you want to judge somebody, think about, I just made a judgment. I don't like that dress, or you look awful today, or, I made a judgment. And I'm watching my thought process and going, I don't have the right to judge them. And how do I know that there isn't something extenuating circumstances in their life? And most of the time when we do find what's behind it, we can have a heart of compassion why people are presenting themselves the way they are. But that takes conquering your thoughts. Take every thought captive. Okay, how do we get electron donors? pH of 7.0 to 14. The pH, if it's alkaline, is an electron donor. Science knows that healthy people have an alkaline pH. An electron stealer, the pH from 7 down to 1 becomes acid, and it's a stealer. Disease and pain are always associated with an acidic pH. So, if you still have pain, if you still have a disease, what's going on in your body? You have low voltage. And that means that you need to take in higher voltage. And we're going to show you how to do that. Drinking acid water contributes to the system, and I might say anything with anything acid in sodas and coffee and such. And that will cause the low energy, the fatigue, excess weight, poor digestion, aches and pains, and even more serious disorders. We all know the pH scale, and I would look at that and say, what foods in my diet are really on the acid side? And what foods in my diet, really a plant-based diet is what we need to move to. And I'm with you, lots of that stuff that's plant-based isn't as tasty and as, great as the stuff that's acid, But once you start moving there and you change your thinking, it can really become enjoyable. So we're going to look at pH and voltage. If we have a 0 pH, it's actually plus 400 millivolts. If we have a 7 pH, it is a 0 millivolts. And if we have a 14 pH, it's a minus 400 millivolts. And that's the way we want to go. Now this will shift. We know this from how we've tested the water that comes from the very high alkaline. So it varies by your source and by the ionization or the water that you're getting, the pH and the alkaline water. So chronic disease is low voltage. pH measures the acidity and the alkalinity, but it's also measuring how much voltage is in a solution. Cells have to have enough voltage to remain healthy, and the chronic disease is just loss of voltage. There's our millivolts again. And so the body says the pH, remember, is a logarithmic scale. So if you have a minus 400 millivolts to a 400 millivolts, it's logarithmic because 7 to 14 is your donor and 0 to 7 is your stealer. And the body operates at a pH of 7.35. There's the connection, minus 20 millivolts. Cancer develops at what? You're going to know this. 30 plus millivolts. It also reverses polarity. You notice when I've done muscle testing, I put a finger on the bridge of the nose, and you put your pad of your finger to it, and then you turn your nail side to it, and you can test. That's polarity. And when people are the same strength, positive, in a muscle test on both of those, they have a switched polarity. And we always watch that in our brain camp, that our workers are getting their polarities not switched, and that our people, because when you have a switched polarity, everything that's tested is backwards. And one of the causes of this is that your voltage is low, your minerals are low, and you can't hold it. Viruses, fungus, bacteria, and cancer cells die when you have a minus 70 millivolts. What's that pH? It's 8.23, so 8.5 alkaline water is doing what? It's already raising our voltage. And then you have a minus 105 millivolts at the 8.84, so we're really moving it up there. When you have a plus 5 millivolts, you have a pH of 6.91 or higher. And that is where you have bacteria, viruses, funguses, and you have decreased oxygen, you go into pain, and you go into damage to the DNA. Cancer is damage to the DNA. The cells don't get the right message, they don't replicate properly. When you have the body 75% of this, you have to have voltage transfer via the fluids. That's what God intended. Now the pH is voltage. That's the power. Whew. Think of hydrogen. Remember I told you the hydrogen bombs? Think of that. Your pH is your hydrogen. And because your pH is included in the water, 75% of your solutions are always in play in your body. And much of that transfer of voltage is going to go through the water, through that. Just get a mental picture of what you're drinking. If you're drinking all kinds of things that have color to them, you're probably lowering your voltage. The pH neutralizes acids. One of the easiest and most effective ways to change your pH is to change your water. Not just the neutral water of 7.0, but you want alkalizing water. You want to go to the highest pH you can go to because you want to push that voltage as high as you can get. That's your 9.5 water is 500 times more alkaline than the water with a pH of 7. That's pretty amazing. That's a pretty logarithmic jump. Why is the vibration or voltage of water the key to healing? Think about this for yourself and think about this for others. Not only the amount, but it's very important the kind of water. The wrong water does what? Starves the cell and leads to a host of debilitating illnesses. Once the one water in particular flushes toxicity, balances acidity, delivers oxygen and minerals to your cells, and helps guard against these illnesses. Voltage is transferred via liquid. The fluid solutions can either carry additional electrons, making them electron donors, and electrons are necessary to do and perform the work in the cell. Now, electron stealers. They remove electrons, making them electron stealers. That's a new way to look at free radicals, isn't it? You know, when you think of it as stealing, who likes to be stolen from? Not me. We kind of get upset and drop our voltage when that happens. Free radicals are molecules that they are missing electrons, and they're looking to steal them from other molecules. So that makes them unstable and dangerous. Dangerous is kind of a strong word, but that's really what they are. Your health is in danger when you're getting those positive electron stealers. Free radicals create cellular chaos that can lead to a whole array of problems. Look at how the body transfers. Look at that. The liquids, 60%, and then you have proteins and fats. It's always going through the liquids. That's how God intended us to get it. When the human body is 75%, solutions are in play, and remember, removing the electrons with the positive is counterproductive. Here's just a quick overview of each part of the body. 90% in the cell, 75% in the muscles, 80% in the brain, 85% in the blood, and 70% in the body. Wow. Pretty amazing. Not all water is the same. You know that. But, you know, when you look at water, and people look at water on the street who haven't heard this, water's the same. Water's water. Oh, my tap water looks the same. It smells the same. It tastes the same. But when you look at water and you really see the quality, there's a big difference. The right kind of water raises the vibration. Water that is not alkaline, that is not properly ionized, and I say that word very poignantly, because if it's not properly ionized, it can't hold the voltage. It's all about being able to hold the voltage. If it's not done with the proper kind of power source, the proper kind of plates that are solid metal and coated with medical grade titanium and platinum, it cannot hold the voltage, and it can't make that voltage. So regular water, when it's not alkaline, it can't do its job because it can't hydrate the body and it can't raise your voltage. It's unstructured. Good water that has the voltage is going to have small molecules so it can get deep into that cell. It has a low surface tension. This is what allows your body to absorb the water. It's acidic or disease producing, and it's full of those microscopic bad guys that would leave you jumping if you were able to see them. So not all water is the same. We know tap water. We don't want tap water. It's not going to do anything for our voltage except lower it. If we get into polluted water, sometimes people are, swimming or having polluted water come into their use. Well water, we think that's the best on the planet. And purity, but it's acid water. And then RO water. Oh, I was a proponent of reverse osmosis. My goodness, that's the best. You can really clean your water well and have pure water. That's all my concept of water was, pure water. I didn't realize there was all these other factions. And I'll guarantee you that most people out there don't have a concept that there are other factors to the water other than purity. That's why you see everybody drinking bottled water. Go to Costco, go to the airport, and a lot of people are drinking because they're conscious that the water is polluted, but they're not conscious of the voltage. Spring water, even spring water is acid and sometimes polluted. Distilled water. I'm still amazed at how many people, I just recently had somebody that decided their alkaline water wasn't doing them any good, and they needed to go back to distilled water because they'd done the research. Something happened to their voltage in their brain because it cannot possibly be when you have the science behind alkaline water, you can even think of going back to RO or distilled water, because they take everything out of that water and the beneficial structure is not there. The clustering, the surface tension, the healthy minerals, you can't hydrate the body with that. It's voltage. Drinking ionized water is the only solution to this problem. All right, now let's move into how voltage is affected by the oxygen in the cells. It's got to be due to the vibration and the voltage that you're drinking. When the voltage is low, we know it's acid, and as it's acid, the oxygen is coming out of the cell. People that work out, they know the importance of oxygen. People that are taking antioxidants know the importance of oxygen. You've got to have adequate amounts of oxygen for your body to heal. When the voltage drops, the oxygen drops. And then those bugs and the viruses, they come out. They wake up and they want lunch. And they release digestive enzymes that go in and dissolve the cells. And they get the nutrients out of the cells. So when you have bugs moving through the bloodstream, then they cause other problems. There are lots of things that are coming, and people have, pains from viroids and viruses and chronic fatigues, and things are coming from these things that have come because the voltage is too low in the positive realm. When the voltage is high, you're going to be in the alkaline, and what's going to happen? There can be 1 trillion bugs in your system, but they're not going to wake up. These bugs are asleep because the oxygen is there to control them. The higher the alkaline pH, the more oxygen is dissolved in the cells. And the higher the pH, the more energy in the cells. The amount of oxygen in the cell is determined by voltage. Is that a new concept for some of you? Very important concept. If a cell has that adequate voltage, it will also have adequate oxygen. If the cellular voltage is low, the amount of oxygen in the tissues will be low. When the voltage and the oxygen are low, the metabolism becomes anaerobic, and that means oxygen is unavailable. Anaerobic metabolism is very inefficient, and you don't feel too good. Lots of you know about Dr. Otto Heinrich Warburg, and we use his research and talk about it because he did so much with oxygen. But he found, and he got the Nobel Prize for finding that without oxygen, the body can, and all of its cells just don't work right. And as the oxygen levels decrease, so does your health. And in 1966, Otto Warburg, one of the 20th century's leading biologists, received the Nobel Prize because he discovered what? That cancer cannot grow when there's normal oxygen levels present. So then, what's he talking about? Voltage. Oxygen rising those levels means that you're raising the cellular healing. And when you get the cell normally is what? It's minus 25 millivolts. Oxygen can enter the cells as it's needed. How do you restore that voltage? Look here and see. You're drinking water that only contains alkaline, negative electrons. You're supplying iodine properly to the thyroid. You're getting in the sun. You're putting your feet in dirt. You're hugging other living things. I've always thought hugging trees was kind of silly, but now I understand why. I think I'm going to go hug some trees. And eating raw, whole, unprocessed, chemical-free foods and releasing your trauma and your emotions. To restore that cellular voltage, ionized microclustered water is needed. Use the water ionizer, only of the highest quality. Again, this is so key. You can never be misled if you do the one that's the top, that has the correct transformer, that has the correct 7 solid medical plates. Ionized alkaline water donates the electrons. Choice of waters, you get from 2.5 to 11.5. This is another clue. If an ionizer isn't making 2.5 and 11.5, they only go to 10.5, it can't do the job that you want to do in building that voltage. You need the high and you need the low. We're going to show you what they both do. So free radicals and antioxidants in your water. You have electron stealers, electron donors, and it goes, the electron stealers cause damage. The electron donors help the cells do the work. The electron stealers have a pH of 0 to 6.9. The electron donors have a pH of 7 to 14. The electron stealers are acidic. The electron donors are alkaline. The electron stealers are free radicals, and the donors are antioxidants. And the electron stealers are at the positive pole. the electron donors are at the negative pole. The stealers cause damage, they're destructive, and the donors are constructive. You have a left spin in the molecule going on in the electron stealers. Those of you that understand energy understand spin. And the electron donors have a right spin in their molecules. You can actually, on your food, this is just a little energy technique that you can do. You can take your food at a restaurant, it's usually, and you can spin left. And that does something to that negative, the stealing energy, and then you can raise its energy by moving to the right. Just spinning it with your body's energy. Pretty cool. Remember, electrons are necessary for cells to perform their work. They can't do it. If you remove them, they're counterproductive. Free radicals, those are the molecules that are missing electrons, and they have to go steal and rob and take them away, and everybody gets upset with that. The cell is upset. Maybe it has a brain. It does get upset. It says, you're not helping me. And that makes them unstable and dangerous. When somebody gets upset and out of control, don't they get unstable and dangerous? That's what's happening in our cells, and they become chaotic. And they tend to lead to a vast array of problems. Isn't that chaotic person in your life, that problem person in your life, causing a lot of other problems in that circle around them? That's how it is in the cell level. The pH potential is really cell voltage. But cells require certain millivolts to power and regenerate and heal the damaged areas. According to the official pH scale, water has a pH of 7.0, but water only has a pH of 7.0 when the hydrogen plus and the hydroxyl, or the hydroxide, OH negative, are present in equal quantities. So now we're going to move them unequal. When there become more hydroxide ions, it becomes a negative hydroxyl hydrogen. And when the hydrogen plus are more predominant, it becomes more acid. And we want the water to be alkaline. If there are more hydrogen than hydroxide, it's going to be acid. So we want more negative hydroxyl ions. The qualities of the water, we want to provide the actual ability of that water by giving it that active hydrogen and just splitting it in an ionizer. What a phenomenal concept. We can produce energy for our entire family and the whole neighborhood in our kitchen. We can produce that hydrogen, active hydrogen. It can be produced right near, it's on the cathode side. And then reduced water exhibits the high pH, the alkaline, and it has low dissolved oxygen. It has extremely high dissolved molecular hydrogen, and it's extremely negative redox potential, strongly electrolyzed reduced water. These are just some of the terms that you're going to find when you read about it, and you'll know what they mean. We've all heard about water places around the world where people go and they get healed and they have this amazing quality. Well, there's a place in Germany called Wunderwasser, miracle water, and it's in Nordenau, Germany. And what they found, it was very effective in treating traumatic diseases and treating diseases in general. Clinical improvements, they tested this and they found in 80% of the patients, 80% it was bringing wonderful, rapid recoveries from various diseases. Thousands of people trek there daily to drink this water and to get these miraculous things out of the water from a variety of diseases that are brought on. And the researchers found that what was happening, that it was healing because of the scavenging ability of the negative hydrogen ion in that water. We've all heard of Hunza and all the wonderful things about Hunza. Why is the water in Hunza so healing? Well, there was a Dr. Henry Coanda who'd studied this water and the people there for 60 years, trying to find what was in their water that caused such a rarity of diseases. I don't know if you know this, but they didn't have prisons and they didn't have hospitals. They really had an amazing, amazing system. In fact, I learned one of their healing techniques, and it's going to blow your mind when I tell you this. And I've used it successfully 100% of the time. Your hand has what in it? Voltage. You can have Kirlian photography and see that emanating off. This is a Hunza technique. You have a broken bone, you put your hand on the back of your neck, and you hold it there for 72 hours. That's impossible, right? So you get your husband, you get your kids. I ripped my meniscus in my knee one year, and I was desperate to get well. And I go, I'm not going to have surgery. I'm not going to have surgery. I'm not going to have surgery. And it was right over Christmas, so there was really nowhere to go, and I'm not running to doctors anyway. So I just used my oils. I couldn't move out of bed for 3-4 weeks, and I just put the oils on every couple hours, and it was like healing. The pain was gone instantly. I didn't have any pain, but my family was done. My husband hates to cook, and my family was done taking care of me because I didn't get up and cook nothing. I didn't do anything. So then, okay, all right, I guess I got to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, got it diagnosed. I already had tested it. It was a torn meniscus. I already knew that. And I thought, why isn't this healing? What's going on? And so I made an appointment with a surgeon in a bigger city because we're in a little, village and nobody's there. And I had confirmed the diagnosis with a doctor and a physical therapist, went up to him and said, he ran an MRI and said, well, there's been an injury there, but it's healed. Why can't I walk? He said, because your bone is contused. It's bruised. I didn't hit my bone. Somehow in that ice slip, it hurt the bone. I go, I know what to do. Right away, put my hand on my neck, and I could only hold it there 45 minutes, and I was done. And then the family took over, and for 3 days, they held it on there. We laid on the couch. I was on a massage table. My husband slept like this. Bless his heart. And everybody took, turns, and my friend came over and gave me a massage. It was wonderful. In 24 hours, I could walk up and down the stairs. In 3 days, I could run. And so I'd had clients do this. One man had broken his back, and he could not get it healed. I mean, he was in pain. And I said, well, you can do this. He did it himself for 3 days. At the end of those 3 days, there was a day in between. He came and helped us move. We were moving our office to a new office. Heavy metal shelves. He lifted them with my husband, had no problem. He had it diagnosed by his doctor with a x-ray that it was healed. We had somebody else with a very shattered leg. We've had sprained ankles, and all broken bones will heal with this. I had a young man that I worked with in the hospital. He was hit by a car. He was coming out and hit on the driver's side. He had bones broken and bruised in every part of his body. His lung was collapsed. His brain was hit. This is where I learned a lot of the things to do with some of the oils for brain injury. Anyway, the family called me in. He was in the medical county hospital, and they allowed me to come in and work with him. So I'd work all day, come in at 10 to 12 at night and work on him. And we couldn't get the pain down. And I'm going, well, what's going on? And then I realized, hello, put this on there. All his bones were broken. It took 6 days. Every single 3 days, they moved him from intensive to the surgery to the normal ward. Out the door in 9 days. He was projected to have 6 months to a year of therapy. The therapist came over and said, you don't need me. You're doing fine on your own. He went back to school, finished his school year. It works every single time. So anyway, that's the Hunzas. So this doctor discovered the viscosity and the surface tension, and Dr. Patrick Flanagan is well known for his research, and he discovered that the water had a high alkaline pH. And it had an extraordinarily high active minus hydrogen. It was a negative redox potential and high colloidal minerals. Remember, the minerals are so important. It's living water, and it provided the health benefits. And there are many, many stories about the Hunzas, but you'll remember that one about the bone, and you'll remember it about the water. This is a chart that I've used for many years with pH. If your pH is not in the alkaline range, there are many of the minerals. As you get closer in the colors, you have to be more in the alkaline pH to be able to absorb the minerals properly. And I would see, as I test people, that their minerals were very low, and they would always be dehydrated. And it wasn't until I got the way to fix it, it's interesting how that comes, that I understood that connection. that they were low in minerals, and they would say, but I'm taking minerals. But it was all to do with their liquid intake because they couldn't have the pH coming in. So minerals that are ionized are more available, they're more bioavailable, and the body absorbs minerals more efficiently and makes use of them where they are needed in the body. Minerals are some of the most important nutrients. A lot of times people will take vitamins, but they won't take minerals. Minerals are very important. Sea minerals and minerals from more earthy sources are more important, yet it's very common. Most of us have mineral deficiencies. Ionized water is a very efficient way, an effective way for the body to get minerals because there are minerals in source water. And this is why a lot of people who take the water get so many benefits, because it's making those minerals available for their digestion, for their energy, for their nerve transmission, for their muscle contraction, and for regulation of pH. See, people don't know that. Did you know that before today, that your minerals help you regulate your pH? It's not just the water. You've got to have the minerals and the minerals in the water. And it helps your metabolism, it helps your cholesterol levels and your blood sugars. And then enzymes, they are critical for your voltage. Enzymes speed up reactions. How do you think they move? And they help the pH to be remaining optimum. They take place in water. Enzymes are what move life. They move reactions in the cells. They're catalysts for nearly every biological process. They lose their function if you don't have the right kind of water. Why is it that we have such a plethora of digestive disorders today? It's off the charts in antacids and Mylanta and all these things that people are buying because they have so much digestive problems because the enzymes aren't there. And they're not there because they don't have the pH and they don't have the alkalinity to move them. A lack of the water in the cells causes the shape of the cell to be deformed. The temperatures rise. None of the chemicals that the cells need will dissolve. And the cells have to function well in only the proper pH environment. Here is one of the most important antioxidant enzymes. It's called superoxide dismutase. You probably heard that. Studies suggest that the electrolytes reduced water. Actually, there's a lot of science on how the water increases the activity of this key detoxifying enzyme in the body, superoxide dismutase. It's what? It's central. That means it's in the middle. It's in the most important in fighting against free radical damage, both in aging and chronic degeneration. So it's not just the water bringing in the hydrogen, it's activating this important enzyme in your body. These results suggest that the SOD-like activity of this reduced water, is another word for alkaline water, is due to the dissolved atomic hydrogen or the active hydrogen. Hormones. Most hormones, not all, but most are water soluble. And they're from amino acid derivatives and peptides. And they travel freely in the blood because they like water. But when the hormones are low, the liver increases its production of what? Cholesterol, in an effort to normalize the hormone levels. And whenever we see an increase in cholesterol, we know there is dehydration. Fats are critical. Now, this is something people aren't getting with this. And some of these are clues for you, like, why isn't this person getting more results with the water? I'm giving you clues. It's the minerals, it's the enzymes, it's the fat. There are other factors here that can be blocking that water doing its job. The electrons from high electron water is stored, what is it? Stored as energy. Why is it stored in the fat? Because that's where the voltage can be kept in a battery. Good fat, not the bad fat. The trans fats, the hydrogenated fats are needed for this function. In fact, the bad fats won't work. They make the cell walls plastic with this fat, and it prevents the new cells from functioning right. Cells that are made from the trans fats, and by the way, I would say over 50% of the population eats bad fats. And this alone should keep you from ever eating another French fry. Yeah, I'm sorry. But you can make your own. They're easy to make. You can bake them in the oven, or you can make them. Do you know that you can cook coconut oil and you can deep fry in that? It's not carcinogenic and it's not hydrogenated. When I found that out, I said, honey, now I can make you donuts. And he said, oh, thank you. So we gave those up, and he loves them. So cells made from trans fats cannot hold a charge or a voltage. That is so critical to you getting well and you feeling good. Another way that the body stores electrons is from the electrolyzed reduced water is the cell membranes and the layers of opposing fat. The cell membranes act as a battery that stores the voltage for the cell. They open and close depending on the voltage vibration applied. A cell that is negative, has the negative electrons coming into the cell, is going to charge. Mitochondria. You know, the autistics are known to have mitochondrial dysfunction. And this is why this water is so powerful for them. But all with brain injuries, we all have mitochondria, and they serve to recharge those cell batteries. Every cell needs energy for everything that they do, and it's so important that the mitochondria cannot be overemphasized. The most common reason is there is a loss of the ATP power, including the cell membranes losing its ability to store those electrons, or it's depleted of functioning mitochondria. This can be brought about, how? By consuming trans fats or plastic fats that destroy the cell. By the way, margarine is a very plastic fat. And your body is designed to be able to digest butter. It needs the butyric acid in the butter. And so get the healthiest butter you can find, but use butter, not margarine. Hypothyroidism reduces the number. Look at this. Remember we said that you have to have a proper functioning thyroid in order to have voltage? Now here's the why. Because the hypothyroid reduces the number of mitochondria in the cells which function as the power station of the cell. When the number of functioning mitochondria are reduced, the cell's ability to produce energy is reduced. ATP in water, adenosine triphosphate, captures and stores. So you're bringing it in, you got to have something to hold it. And the ATP is indispensable to the life of a cell. The electrolyzed reduced water, ionized water, microclustered water enhances, what does it do? Enhance the ATP. It becomes beneficial and life-sustaining effects upon the cellular health and its replication. It functions for intracellular energy transport and for various metabolic cell divisions. ATP is considered the universal energy current for metabolism. ATP cannot bring energy, which is voltage, without proper oxygen. How do you get oxygen? High alkaline pH water. Electrolyzed reduced water supplies that high voltage for the ATP. As the voltage is raised, you get more oxygen. As the electrolyzed reduced water has high dissolved oxygen, look at this. This is key. You're going to remember this. When oxygen is available, you make 38 molecules of ATP. The cells then have enough energy to work. When the voltage drops and you're losing oxygen, it comes out of solution. The oxygen's leaving, serious consequences, and what happens? Your body can only produce 2 molecules of ATP. You know anybody that has no energy? Okay, you're going to look at their fat intake. You're going to look at their enzyme intake. You're going to look at their mineral intake if they're drinking the water. If they're not drinking the water, that's the first place to start. Cells just don't have energy to function. Now, here's some things to think about. In the alternative world, we know that there are certain things that affect your health, and they can have a radiating effect. And some of these they're called common destroyers. Eating the wrong kind of fats, we've already talked about the trans fats, canola fat, not having enough functional thyroid, heavy metal poisoning, and dental infections. Remember, if the blood-brain barrier has been damaged, it's not functioning fully, they're going to suck in toxic metals like nobody's business. Metals are on all our food. That's what goes on the sprays. All of the sprays, I already talked to you about how wheat is full of mercury because we spray our wheat. All the seeds come soaked in mercury. And your grass seed, by the way, comes soaked in mercury. If you're spreading grass seed, it'll have a red tint on it. That's all mercury laden. And so we're getting mercury all through the food chain, and all the grains are soaked with mercury and these metals. So heavy metal poisoning, why do they get so much heavy metal? And you'll see this, particularly in the autistic community, but those that have brain injury know they need metal detox. And that's because it's like a sieve. There's no filtering there to keep it out of the brain. And then dental infections. A lot of times people have dental infections, abscess or cavitations, and they don't realize that becomes what we call a foci. And that foci is pulling energy from organs in the body. Almost every breast cancer, almost every prostate cancer has a foci in the dental. And they don't ever look there. It's the other organs, and so those have to be taken care of. The pineal gland, this is a pretty exciting thing. How many of you want more connection with your Maker? How many of you are interested in being more spiritual? Most people are. Most people want a connection with the God that made them. The pineal gland is what God gave us. It's a hollow organ composed mostly of water. This is an amazing thing that most people don't even know. It's known as the organ that anchors the soul to the body. It's the size of a pea, and it's shaped like a pine cone, and this is what it is. It's in the brain, but not part of the brain. Isn't that interesting? It's only the part of the brain that's not separated from the body by the blood-brain barrier. It has proteins in it that are associated with phototransduction, the process by which light is converted to electrical signals, and that light is sensing. So in order for us to have spiritual light, what has to happen to the pineal? It's composed of water, and it's composed of that light sensing transduction. We have to be able to open that up. So how do we do that? Well, what's happening today is that our pineal glands are calcifying. And how are they calcifying? And this is a picture of a calcified pineal gland. Internally calcifies by the fluoride. Most people don't even think. They walk to the grocery store, pick the toothpaste, and say, this is what I need, and take it, and it's got fluoride in it. And they drink water that has fluoride, or they wash their vegetables with fluoride water. And it calcifies the pineal, and the chemicals found in your water systems, your toothpaste, or if you get fluoride treatments at the dentist. Hormones and additives put into the processed food and sugars, especially the artificial sugars, dumped into soft drinks and foods will calcify the pineal. The pineal absorbs more fluoride than any other part of the body. Guess what, folks? Many of the psychotropic brain drugs have fluoride in them. What are we doing? No wonder these people can't figure out what their life is about. We have hardened their pineals. Cell phones, computers, again, look at how important this is. I hope you leave this weekend understanding that every time you put that cell phone to you or on you or near you, you're getting radiated with EMF frequencies that now, you know another aspect of it, it's lowering your voltage, but now it's calcifying your pineal. So you've got to put some diodes on there and protect it from that radiation and on your computers. This is kind of a visual of how it projects light in and out of us. And what does the scripture say? That God is light? Isn't it interesting that he created an organ for his light to get into us and to speak to us? Wow, amazing. The pineal and voltage. It is very important to activate the pineal and raise its vibrations because it's our connection to him. We have more focus. We have vivid dreams. We have lucid dreams. We have easier to connect with God and God consciousness. Better sleep, enhanced imagination. It clears the channels and ability to feel energy. If you're kind of feeling uncreative, kind of not feeling like you're hearing from God or don't know which direction to go in your life, probably your pineal is a little bit calcified. It's the seat of the soul. Here's this isn't a purely scientific experiment that we did, but we were having fun one day with a bunch of us who do research together. So we experimented, and we do what we do to test the acupressure points of organs of the brain. And we tested the pineal point and pulsed it out of what percent they were, and most of us didn't have a pineal above 40% functioning. So we all drank 12 ounces of 11.5 water. Guess what happened? The pineal energy immediately went to 100%. It stayed there for 4 days or more. It was pretty amazing to have that happen. And then if you're really intuitive and you're really sensing, you can really say, wow, I'm really getting downloads. I love to go to bed and ask God to give me downloads. It's very exciting, and I'll use oils and water to do that. So we continued to energize our pineals and putting on a essential oil that opens up and decalcifies it, called blue spruce, Idaho blue spruce, and the 11.5 water. And that is a pretty awesome technique. So you can play with that and see what you get. Now, healing vibrations of the electrolyzed reduced water in health. We're going to take you now to some research and show you what does the research say about using this water in health. Allergies are an irritation or an inflammation reaction appearing as a symptom because they're dealing with acid toxins. They're acid related. Hydrogen ion water, ionized water with the negative, has an anti-allergic effect. Yeast and fungus, whose poisons are acid, contribute significantly to your hay fever and your sneezing. When I was in high school, I had such bad allergies that I went to an allergist, of course, that's what you do, and got all those pokes and things, and then ended up on shots that I gave myself when I went on to college. By the time I was done with college, I was so sick that I couldn't function. God blessed me, I got married, and I collapsed. And now you can take care of me. He didn't really know what to do, so I laid in bed like Dr. Tennant and read books and learned and changed my diet and changed my life. And I was so blessed to have a husband that said, honey, if it's right and if it's what God has us do, we're going to do it together. And I encourage you to do that with your mate. If they are given something that's right and good, go with them, because the journey has been phenomenal in what God will show you when you're united with it. So anyway, I didn't drink water. I didn't even drink bottled water. I didn't drink tap water. If I got water, it was by default. I didn't drink sodas. I didn't drink coffee. I didn't drink tea. I don't know how I survived. No wonder I became very, 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 very ill. And that whole process is why I learned what I learned today, because I had to figure out how to get well. Vibrations of electrolyzed water and arthritis. It's caused by accumulation of acid in the body. It's accumulated damages in the cartilage and in the coats the cells and produce the synovial and the bursa fluids, causing a dryness. And that irritates the joints and causes the swelling. That's why with the detoxification coupled with the alkaline water, so many people say, I don't have the pain anymore. My mother had kind of curled fingers. Her fingers are straightening out. It's quite amazing. Alkaline, ionized, microclustered water neutralizes that acid. The body's 70% water. So look, you've just changed the terrain and the large, large impact that you can make on your joint health. Once the pH levels swing toward the alkalinity, that arthritis cannot survive. Here's a really cool one. The research tells us that the consumption of H2 hydrogen, the negative ion, dissolved water, has the potential to prevent arteriosclerosis. Remember, this is research. I didn't say it. This is what they have found. Remember what the number one disease killer is today? Arteriosclerosis, heart disease. Wow. Here we have the answer. Vibrations of the electrolyzed water and asthma. Providing asthmatics with the adequate amount of alkaline ionized water on a constant base will reduce and eliminate symptoms because the lungs remain hydrated. The smaller water particle sizes are faster and they're more efficient so that the water arrives in the lungs when it's needed. And the best water is the alkaline ionized. And research says the alkaline ionized water could be the best asthma preventative. And I've had people come up to me and say, their child was having asthma, and they gave them the water, and the asthma stopped. And if you stay hydrated, you will have major help with that. One thing I want to tell you about the asthma that we discovered in the brain camp, because we have people coming there with inhalers, is that they had a mercury resonance in them. I think they use it as a preservative. So every time you're inhaling, you're putting mercury in the brain. Vibrations of the electrolyzed reduced water and cancer. People always ask, oh, what does this water do for cancer? Remember, it's only a tool to help your body do what the body needs to do. But in the research, they have found that cancer cells are generally exposed to high oxidative stress. What does that do? Reduce their voltage. Remember, they go down to 50 plus millivolts. The electrolyzed reduced water can reduce tumor growth rate. It suppresses the growth of cancer cells. When they transplanted this into mice, the electrolyzed reduced water, demonstrating their anti-cancer effects in vivo. The reduced water will be applicable not only to the medicine industry, but to the food industry. Now, more about the vibration of this water and cancer. Here's what the research says. Alkaline water reduced and showed significant anti-cancer effects. Alkaline water, reduced water also shows the inhibition of the metastasis. I can't tell you how many times when I go around the country and speak, somebody comes up to me and says, I had kidney cancer, I had prostate cancer, I had breast cancer, I had ovarian cancer, and I was at stage 4, and this water saved my life. I was ready to go. I was making plans to go. And I'm going, now come on, that really can't be. And I'm hearing it again and again and again and again. And I'm seeing these people, and I'm going, it really is true. The research is really true. And here is some pictures that you can get of the anti-cancer effects. Here's tap water, and you see the little brown dots all over the cells, and then you see the cells that have the alkaline reduced water is what they're calling it here, and you have less of those little brown spots which indicate the cancer. Then you see the weight of a rat's tumor. And with the water, tap water, the tumor is 4.8 grams. And with the alkaline reduced water, you have the tumor growing to the size of 2.3 grams, so it reduces it. Just exactly what I told you the research says, it reduces the tumor. And then here are some of the charts showing the effects of cancer cell reduction by drinking the water. The vibration of this water in the colon. In 1965, the Ministry of Welfare in Japan announced that the reduced water obtained by this method of electrolysis can prevent abnormal fermentation in the intestinal microbes. Dr. Hidemitsu Hashi said, you will have clean feces if you drink alkaline water. Now, I don't know about you, but in my world, we learned that death begins in the colon. So these putrefactive bacteria have a pretty powerful effect on our health because they can go back through the bloodstream and into the body. Electrolysis has been the function of detoxifying and neutralizing these toxic substances such as the hydrogen sulfide and the ammonias contained in the feces. The toxic substance will start to decrease as you start drinking the water. This is a really fun one because we have such a high level of diabetes, and there is a lot of research on this kind of water, the electrolyzed reduced water and diabetes. It showed in the research to reduce their blood glucose concentration and to increase their blood insulin levels, improve their glucose tolerance, and decrease their bad cholesterol, their LDL. And it proved the electrolyzed reduced water may protect the beta cell damage that would be useful as an anti-diabetic agent. Whew. Wow. In our healing house, we recently had a couple come, and they both had diabetes, and they said they were checking their levels, and they were at 240 pretty much every day. We put them on the high hydrogen water, electrolyzed water, and we gave them an essential oil called Acatea, which balances blood sugar. In 1 week or less, their blood sugars were 140. I've never seen that fast. I was able to monitor them. They were telling me what their scores were every day. We were making sure they were getting the water, and we were watching that come into balance. They were thrilled. Ionized water in type 2 diabetics, supplementation of this is what the research says, hydrogen-rich water improves the lipid glucose metabolism in patients with type 2 diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. The results suggest that if you supplement with this hydrogen-rich water, you may have the potential, what did they say? A potential role in prevention of the type 2 diabetes mellitus and insulin resistant. That's pretty exciting. What about the gastric functions? According to the medical researcher in the Meba University, the pH of the gastric secretions will remain normal when antioxidant water is consumed. That proves the ability of the antioxidant water. It's able to neutralize as well as stimulate the secretion. We have so many gastric problems today. Gastrointestinal disorders are all linked to acidosis. All stomach problems, indigestion, nausea, gas, acid reflux are symptoms caused by the excess acid in the gastric system. That's why antacids are prescribed. You can neutralize that acid through the alkaline water, through the alkaline foods, through alkaline minerals. It will all help alleviate the acid-related intestinal disorders, including ulcers, without taking the destructive prescription drugs. One of the things that I learned when I was so sick was how to combine foods in a way so the normal digestive enzymes would function properly. So I learned that if I ate fruit with meat, I would cause fermentation. And if I ate meat with starch, I would cause putrefaction. And those end up with all these nasty, ugly names in the colon, which then can get into the system and cause more acid and cause more disease. So early on, I wrote a cookbook called Cooking Naturally, which talks about that method of eating. And then I created a picture on a DVD of a whole, here's the foods that are different groups, and here's how to eat them together so that people can understand. And my husband and I have followed this pretty much in our lives. And it helps your energy, it helps your acid levels, it helps push everything to another level. Vibrations of the stomach and the stomach acid. The important role of antioxidant water in the stomach is to neutralize the secretion and strengthen its functions. After consuming the antioxidant water for 1 to 3 minutes, the gastric juices increase. For those suffering from too much, low in hydrochloric acid, the presence of antioxidant water will stimulate more, and the stomach cells will secrete enough gastric juice. The electrolyzed reduced water enhances the digestion and your absorption. Remember that chart? The absorption of your minerals. Those with hyperchlorhydria are high in the gastric juice. The antioxidant water will neutralize. So we have a balancer. When nature does its job and it's done properly, it always balances. And this is why I have not seen, when you take the high alkaline water, that you ever get imbalanced in your pH. Your body pH will do what it's supposed to do, and it doesn't go overboard in getting too alkaline. Vibrations of the water with the eye issues. It's linked to acidosis. When you start getting cataracts, when your vision starts declining, these are acid issues. We generally don't consider our vision changes to be a condition of acid. But it's losing oxygen, macular degeneration. And the end result is that the tissues get stiff, hard, and inflexible. And the calcium deposits collecting in the optic nerve on the ganglia are called the cataracts. And you have loss of vision in the macro degeneration. It's just dehydration and acid buildup. Vibrations of the water and gout. Gout is caused by an acid condition. It's a form of an arthritic with the excess uric acid. Uric acid are salt deposits that they deposit in the surrounding tissues of the toes, the feet, and the hands, causing swelling and severe pain. How many of you have known people that have had this? And they'll limp around, take the drugs, and they're still limping. Doesn't really solve it. I had a friend whose husband had this, and she worked with me for quite a while, so she knew all the ins and outs. And they did not have an ionizer in their house, and he started drinking that water in a week. his gout was gone. Guess what they bought? Was no brainer. I am building too much acid and I don't like the pain. Another thing that we're not aware of is our lymph system. Unless we move, unless we exercise, unless we have something that is moving that electrical flow, the lymph doesn't move. This is why massage is great. This is why anything to do to move is great. Another technique is you can move your foot up and down at your ankle, and that's a lymphatic pump. So if you are in bed, somebody can do it for you and move those, and it gets the pump going. But here's another fun thing. They are composed of water. The lymph is composed of water and immune substances. Water, click, click, click. So without adequate water, it can't flow properly, and the lymph vessels are always twice the amount of the circulation, so you have one on each side of the circulation vessels. But important for the immune system, you've got to have the water. It detoxifies the acidic waste, infection, and proteins and toxins and debris from the body, and it returns the fluid from the body tissues to the blood. As the lymph becomes too acidic, fungi and bacteria spontaneously develop and grow, and thus they clog at the nodes. We know of swollen nodes and sore throats and things. But if this lymphatic system is supplied with oxygen and alkaline pH, you're going to have some changes, because the average pH of the lymph in an adult is 6.2. Is that alkaline? It's acid, which means you have a 94% decrease in the amount of oxygen available in the lymph. Imagine living with only 6% oxygen. Just kind of cover your face and try to breathe like that for a while. It's pretty hard. The lymph needs the rich oxygen, and it needs the alkaline fluid, and the water has to be electrical. There's your secret. Because this water is electrical, it will energize and move the fluid through the vessels. That is so important for our health, because God intended that there had to be movement to get that waste to move out. That's why the alkaline water, with its small molecular structure, is so detoxifying, because it can get into the lymph and it can move the lymph. Vibrations of water and morning sickness, it's acid related. When a woman gets pregnant, the fetus, the developing fetus, takes priority in getting all the necessary alkaline minerals. The baby has to be born in the highest amount of alkalinity. This means that while the mother is sleeping, she's going to be losing alkaline minerals, causing the blood acidity. And that phenomena is known as morning sickness. By using the alkaline diet and drinking alkaline beverages, particularly the alkaline water, the morning sickness can disappear. Now, vibrations of pregnancy and water. What's going on here? They actually gave pregnant women the water, and these women who took it during their pregnancy experienced almost no vomiting, a smooth delivery, only slight jaundice in the baby, enough lactation, and smooth and satisfactory growth of the newborn. That's exciting. We want to start with our generations that are coming up and give them this power. And a lot of times, new moms, particularly today, our young people have been raised on junk food. And so they are acid, 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 and there are more DNA damage. How's the DNA damage get there in our younger moms? Plus 50 millivolts. They are so acid, and they don't have the voltage. So the DNA is becoming damaged, and we're having more birth defects and more problems that are like, where did that come from? Now you know. It's coming from the voltage. It's coming from the lack of oxygen. So it's very important to get to our young mothers and to teach our grandchildren and our children about how this works in their bodies. Vibrations of obesity and water. Clogged fat prevents the cell from doing its metabolism at the proper rate. Much of the obesity epidemic in the U.S. is attributed to the acidity. We're all eating acid foods. When the blood pH drops toward the more acidic side, even by a tiny amount, like 7.29, there are critical enzymes. Remember, the enzymes need the water too, that are involved in those digestive processes that no longer work at optimum levels. And when this happens, you have acidic byproducts from the digestion that are released into the system. Some of the acidic byproducts are excreted, but most of them are stored and called fat. excess storage. We are all carrying around storage units. And we're paying for them too. We need to eat 70 to 80% alkaline foods in diet. I've given you some ideas on that. 20 to 30% acidic foods. And that really takes some discipline. It takes a shift in your direction. It takes I'm done with this. I want more energy. I want more out of life. And what does that take? I have a goal. I have a purpose. What does that take? An open pineal gland. You got to know what your purpose is. See how it all works together? Isn't that neat? Isn't that amazing? Hydrating from alkaline water is critical part of losing weight. And alkaline water has a higher pH than the traditional drinking water. You can absorb it in the intestines, and the intestines need that water so that the pH of at least 8.3 is needed to absorb that water. Alkaline diet and alkaline water make weight loss a lot easier. And I might add, when you're losing weight, you really got to drink a lot more water, because your body is just going to crave it because you're moving those toxins. Electrolytes reduce water in Parkinson's. There is a lot of Parkinson's today. A lot of people are getting this. Remember again the principle, somewhere in their past they've had a blood-brain barrier incident that opened it up. I dealt with a guy, came to the brain camp, who had Parkinson's, pretty severe. He was in his 80s. Guess what he did when he was a kid? He played football. He couldn't even count the amount of times he got hit in the head. And I would not let my son play football. No, my husband doesn't want to play football. He just likes to watch it. He likes to watch everybody else get their heads beat. I think a lot of men do that, but it's not a real great sport in that regard. But the studies have shown that the hydrogen water is likely to be able to what? Retard the development. Now, retard means slow down, back up, go, the other direction. Wow, that's right from the research of Parkinson's disease. There's the research. Now, retinal damage, look what they're doing. They have the high hydrogen negative water, has no known effects in the human body. So they did a study, and they found that putting hydrogen negative ion loaded eye drops are very useful in a neuroprotective and antioxidative therapeutic treatment for acute retinal injury. Now, in our brain program in our camps, we just give them the regular ionized water, and we had one gal with an optic nerve damage, and she couldn't see out a part of that eye. We did a lot of different brain stimulating therapies for her, and when she left, she had vision returning, and today she has vision in that eye because the optic nerve was restored. And she went to her doctor and actually had it confirmed in the medical sense. Raising your healing vibration by using 11.5 water. Energy vibrations of the water, look at this. Can you see those? There's tomatoes on the left, and they were left in the car for 2 weeks, and they are totally still in great form because they were soaked in the 11.5. Now the ones on the right were still in the sun, still in the car, and they're all mushy and rotten. Well, this is exciting because when I leave for weeks, my husband isn't the greatest in cooking, and I don't want to come back to rotten vegetables that he hasn't used. And you know what? They're not rotten. They're still good. They're good for weeks because they've been soaked in the 11.5. What can we do to bring our bodies back to the energetic balance? Eat high vibration foods, like soaked in 11.5, voltage measured by an electronic device. We know this as the ORP meter, and water molecules will pick up that negative ORP. And you drink the high frequency water as well. We know that there's a lot of chemicals in our environment. We're getting non-organic, let's say apples. And even after washing and peeling them, they will have a lot of pesticides, more than 53 pesticides, and many things are sprayed on these. And these people evaluated these 53 products in their study, and they found that they affect the body over the long haul. Pesticides can be toxic to the nervous system, disrupting the natural balance. I've had people come into the brain program whose mothers had all raw food, mostly raw food, but all pesticide-laden food, and caused so much damage to the nervous system. The child was a vegetable. The mother rejected that diagnosis. She was a vegetable, but she said, I'm not going to leave it there, and she did alternative therapies, and the child is just like a normal child today. And these potentially cause disease, they cause neurological damage, they cause brain damage. So here's what you do. You take your fruits and vegetables and your meats and you soak them in the high 11.5 minus hydrogen water. It's adding the hydrogen, it oxygenates the food, it neutralizes the pesticides and the chemicals, and when you take them out, you'll see the residue in there. Sometimes it's a greasy residue, sometimes it's just a color. The food will last a lot longer. Here's some of the things you can do with the 11.5 water. You can spray acne with it. You can soak parts of your body that are inflamed. Many people have done this. They take and they make a compress with it. You can warm it up too and put it on. You can make salad dressings. When my salad dressings get too thick, I'll just add 11.5 and it emulsifies and makes them come out easier. You can use it to clean your auto and be a degreaser. You can use it for removing stains. I use it in my washing machine. I threw away all my bleaches and all my chemicals, and I now use this and I get whiter clothes and cleaner clothes than I've ever gotten before. You can use it to take smells out. Soak your things in smells and stains, and you can spray it on herpes sores. Healing vibrations of hyperoxidized water. That is the acid water. Some people don't realize that that water is being used for its healing vibration too. Some have said that having an acid water on hand is worth the price of a water ionizer, and we're going to show you why, because some of these things are very critical. So in the 2,5 water, you can use it as a hand sanitizer. You know that these hand sanitizers, put in a little spray and take it with you in your purse. Don't ever use those that as you go into a store or hospital, they're loaded with mercury. So you're getting more toxic poison and chemicals in you. Clean cuts and abrasions, use it for your first aid spray. Cold sores and on your lips and wounds, kills the bacteria. Hygiene, you can brush your teeth and gargle with it. You can soak your toothbrush in it. You can put it on plants. I use it in my greenhouse to kill fungus and mold. And you can use it on your kitchen counters and as an insecticide. You can use it for eczemas and psoriasis where you soak directly in it. In skincare, you can splash this 5.5 to 6.0 on your face. It's better than any toner and a lot cheaper. You can use it to clean things in your house. Ceramics, you can wash dishes with it. You can use it in the washing machine. You can use it on your pets. You can use it to polish your eyeglasses and polish your mirrors. There's many, many things you can do with it. But acid water kills most, what? Bacteria. On contact, the bacteria. It improves the hair and the skin conditions of any kind, including fungus, cuts, scrapes, and serious wounds. Ionized water regularly works like an astringent to tighten the skin and remove the wrinkles. And no chemicals. It soothes and helps clear the skin of acne and other blemishes. The 5 water, we're going to go quickly through this, but you can get these charts. They are available on what are the scientific studies that have been done on which bacteria. We're going to go quickly through them, and basically in 30 seconds is about the average of what it takes in exposure to the 2.5 hyperoxidized water to kill hepatitis B, tubercular virus, AIDS virus, Bacteria subtilis, Staphylococcus, Salmonella, and Bacillus cereus, and a resistant Staphylococcus. And here's more. The Enterovibrio, the typhoid bacillus, the Candida albicans, the pneumobacillus, the bread mold, the red yeast, the athlete's foot and fungus, Streptococcus pyogenes, Enterococcus, Staph aureus, and E. coli. We won't have food poisoning if we soak our meats and our vegetables in this water. And if you get food poisoning, what I would do is drink the water a tablespoon or so at a time. Hyperoxidized water works with the same way with the blood as the white blood cells. It kills the bugs. Hyperoxidized water is an electron stealer. Use for only 1 or 2 weeks at a time to get ahead of the infections, and then you drink heavy while you're taking the 2.5, and then afterwards you drink heavily the 9.5 and the 11.5 as much as possible to restore the electrons. It changes the vibration of the environment and biochemically so that it works like antibiotics. There is a plethora of research on what this does. It has been well documented. After the exposure time of 30 seconds, the electrolyzed oxidized water completely inactivates all of the bacteria, with the exception of vegetative cells and spores of bacilli, which needed 5 minutes. The electrolyzed reduced water has shown some potency in inactivating the oral streptococci. Electrolyzing water has been shown to exhibit strong activities against many of the pathogens like Listeria, E. coli, Salmonella, Bacillus aureus, and Staph. How does this use in the dental? I was going to a dentist who used this in my procedures. And a Dr. Noriyuki Tanaki in a dental clinic reported the direct application of this positive hydrogen water on the injured region, the negative hydrogen, so the very high pH, on the inflamed areas in the mouth promoted healing in his dental procedures, including tooth extraction. My dentist would use it to sterilize, and he would use it to sterilize the mouth. Vibrations of electrolyzed oxidized water in the dental periodontal bacteria, they found it's extremely useful in preventing and treating periodontal disease. Preventing and treating. More than 99% of the bacteria species were killed after exposure in solution to this water. Periodontal bacteria and abscesses, and what else? Infected root canals. All in research proven to be effectively killed with this water. Vibrations of the water and acne. According to a 2004 study, 25 patients were evaluated for mild to moderate acne, and they reported 100% of the patients. How many? 100% of the patients showed improvement. Treatment with the acidic water results in significant reduction in inflammatory lesions and noticeable clearing of the face within 8 weeks. Results of the treatment were so good that 75% of the patients treated with the acidic water preferred the acidic water to conventional acne medications. Our teenagers will love it. That's a great way. Go to their felt need, and their faces are big for them. They want them clear and shining. Now, athlete's foot. Probably most people have some kind of a fungus on their feet. And it's a nasty fungus that's very difficult to cure. Many people suffer from it and have it for long periods of time. But athlete's foot, this is what the research says, can be what? Cured by electrolyzed water. At the Kiowa Hospital in Japan, athlete's foot, hands, and bed sores were treated with only this water, and the doctor says that unless there was an infection, they were completely healed. Clinical reports that I have gotten are that 15 minutes in the 2.5 water a day, once a day for 4 weeks, takes care of it. Now, how do we deal with the mold and the fungus and things? The director of the Kiowa Hospital in Soskuk, Kawamura, says the electrolysis of tap water produces acid water at the anode. That's the anode is the side of the plus. And he says that using this pH of 2.5 kills fungus, mold, and bacteria. How many of you would like to use that in your showers? You live in an area that has more high humidity. You're going to have a lot of mold here. Bacteria such as the spirilla and many others can only survive in a pH environment between 3 and 4. The MRSA. How many of you have heard of people that have MRSA? It's everywhere. And it's methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It is spreading. Often I hear people say, I've had this for weeks and months. Acid water has a pH value of 2.5, is known to kill this. The oxidation reduction, electrical potential, and chlorine and the oxygen help kill these bacteria. And here is a picture of what we can do with the alkaline acid water, and it's used to treat gangrene. If you have had gangrene or any kind of an openness like this, it's very, very acid in your body, and they're using the acid, but they're also drinking very high amounts of the alkaline water. And it doesn't take them very long, and they're soaking in this, and or they're spraying it on, and these wounds, these sores are gone. Vibrations of electrolyzed reduced water and bed sores. If somebody is not ambulatory, not able to walk, not able to get out of bed. In our senior population, they're going to get bed sores. This is a mild picture of some bed sores. And the Kiowa Hospital, Dr. Hidemitsu Hiwasashi says, we don't use antiseptics in their hospital. We use electrolyzed water. One of the patients allowed us to take pictures of his bed sores, and it healed. It worked right down to the bone. Bed sores, even the bad, nasty ones, are healed using this water. It works better than what? Any other medicine. I worked in a convalescent home in high school, and I saw those ugly sores. They never went away, no matter what they did. They just kept eating them and eating them and eating them, and they're awful, and then they stink, and they are very, very difficult. And they're getting them with the acid water. Electrolyzed water works better, especially on the bed sores. They don't have to use disinfectant, ointments, intravenous drip, only the water, and in 2 weeks. There has been no infection on the surface of the ulcer. They were able to get rid of it. Vibrations of this water with ulcers. Stomach ulcers and duodenal ulcers improve as a result of using this water. That's documented. HIV virus and hepatitis B. What does the research say? The electrolyzed oxidized water modified the immune response on the surface protein of hepatitis B. The electrolyzed oxidized water modified the inactivity of the HIV virus when exposed to it in vitro for 45 minutes. The oxidation reduction potential, or the pH, the free chlorine in this water, was a plus 1,053 millivolts. The pH was 2.34. That's what it took. The addition of fresh electrolyzed water may restore the complete disinfection through the bloodstream in these pathogens. Wow. I don't know about you, but this is pretty amazing. There's your research. It's in the journals. It says it kills it. The electrolyzed oxidized water was effective in destroying the hepatitis on instruments that they were using, so they didn't transmit it. Solutions are always at work in our body. Most voltage transfer is done through what? Fluids. Fluids carry electrons as minus donors or positive as stealers. Electrons are how the cells do their work. If cells don't have enough electron donors in the negative, they become chaotic and can't do their work. When the pH drops, your what drops? Voltage. You're going to always remember now that voltage has to do with the pH, and you want it to be negative. The body doesn't get well by making damaged cells work correctly. It gets well by making new cells work correctly. The process of rebuilding a new and healthy you is based on the fact that the body is constantly replacing itself. As each new cell is built, the body seeks proper, it goes by nature to find the right materials. And if they're there, it will take them and it will constantly build new cells. If it can't find them, then healthy materials, it'll use whatever's there. To make the new cells, it has to have the raw materials. What did I tell you those raw materials were? They were the fats, they were the minerals, they were especially the water. And sufficient cellular voltage can't come from any other way but the proper water. If any of these are lacking, pharmaceuticals and our surgeries won't even help. How many of you know people have had surgeries? How many of you know people that are taking drugs and they're not getting anywhere? And they're just taking them because they don't know anything else. That's the answer. Human cells are designed to run at minus what millivolts? You will know this, minus 20 millivolts, or a pH of 7.35. The vibration of water determines your true healing power. It truly and clearly has the medical and functional value. The key to optimal medical and functional value is the state it's in. The body has the ability to heal itself of many ailments if you give it the proper nutrition and the right voltage. The most important in the cellular voltage is what? The water, the kind of water, the only water that supplies the oxygen, the alkaline pH, the abundance of the negative ions is the hydrogen ions, microclustered, electrolyzed reduced water, and ionized water. It is the key to our voltage. It is the key to our healing. Thank you.